hours ago, the Supreme Court ruling that the ban on TikTok could go in place, could continue to happen, and that could happen as early as Monday. However, it looks like President Biden is going to kick it down the road, put a hold on this, and let the Trump administration figure out what to do. Now, there's a lot of thoughts. A lot of people are happy about this. A lot of people are sad. I'll tell you, I have a lot of mixed feelings. Here in our own office, you cannot use TikTok on our servers. That is for security reasons. So clearly, we know there is an issue there because we do not allow that on our servers. However, you also have an economy built on that for a lot of people. So I'm very concerned when you ever start censoring speech. Yes, the reason that they are trying to censor TikTok isn't really to do with the speech being homegrown in America or even the speech being controlled. It is where your data and your privacy is going, how they can be a part of that. Rick Grenell is joining us at the last second. Rick, I appreciate you calling in because you were pretty early on telling us about the issues that were coming out of TikTok years ago, what the concerns were, not necessarily calling for a ban on TikTok, but said, hey, if you're concerned about your privacy, don't have it on your phone. We don't allow it on our servers here at the ACLJ. And some of that was due to your advice. However, we're at this point now where the Supreme Court has ruled that they can ban it. But you have President Trump coming out and saying, you know what? And I think he's right in this, saying we need to figure out a way to move forward.
Yeah, look, this is a difficult issue. And I think President Trump is going about it the right way. Remember, we tried early in the days of TikTok to just ban it or get an American company to host it. That was kind of the compromise. That didn't work. The court said, no, you can't ban it. So the President Trump followed the rule of law, followed what the court said, and said, okay, well, let's try to get a more aggressive ownership of an American. That's where we are now. It hasn't been able to be solved in the Biden administration. So once again, here's another issue that has to come back to Donald Trump's plate. And we're going to have to make sure that we find an American firm to not only buy it, but to host it so that you can really mitigate as much as possible the information flow back to communist China. Remember, they don't allow the current version of TikTok that's available in the United States. The Chinese don't allow that version in China.
Right.
And so there's a lot of questions for how do you mitigate the problems. But I do think that President Trump is right that, we've got some of the same aggressive problems with Facebook, Instagram, some of the other social media platforms have not always been,
friendly,
friendly or just pro free speech,
right?
And not manipulating the content in some way. So I think this is yet just another problem that TikTok has in the larger issue of social media,
right? Because at least with Meta, with Facebook, or with X, even before when it was Twitter, we could at least turn to it and go, Mark Zuckerberg runs this. Now, Elon Musk or Jack Dorsey, there were American faces or very known people who are running it. I don't think most people, if you said who is running TikTok, the transparency is not there. We know it's not there. However, you do have a situation where a lot of Americans have built 90% plus for a lot of these creators and influencers. A lot of their revenue comes through TikTok directly or indirectly. And again, I know a lot of you will go, well, that's just, influencer culture and all that. But think about even the people who are, like I used an example, created a candle company that went viral on TikTok. You do have to think about those people because they are Americans contributing to society. Now, you are right. The TikTok version in China is very education-based. It is not this endless sea of mind reading, which is what it does feel like when you're using it. But maybe this will be a moment where we'll see some change because there are some big voices, some big names in tech and in media that have come and said, hey, we want to buy it. And now it's, I guess, the question of, does China say, great, we'll happily sell it to you? Or does China say, well, then now we don't even have the influence we want out of it? Oh, well.
I think China will absolutely sell it. They realize what a huge deal it is. There'll be some sort of a partnership. But let's remember one thing. Mark Zuckerberg and Meta spent billions of dollars to hire people that were responsible for looking at the content of users on Facebook, my mother's content, when she would update her status. Facebook employed people to look at that to say, is this accurate information or is this misinformation?
Right.
We've gone from opinions being illegal in this country. And Mark Zuckerberg was at the forefront of that. I'm sorry, but I'm not easily swayed with, suddenly he's now a fan of Donald Trump after Donald Trump won the popular vote. I think Mark Zuckerberg is a big fan of money.
Well, if you run into him at the inauguration, let us know. Let us know what he thinks. Go ahead, Will.
And Rick, I think what we have here also is two issues that for the audience to think about as well. Is one, yes, we've had an issue with the way that especially these American social media companies have acquiesced to the censorship that the government wanted to impose, and whether that is, as you mentioned, because they're going to go with the winds of the administration if they want to make more money. But at the end of the day, it still was inappropriate, unconstitutional actions that were happening across social media platforms when it came to censorship. But then you also have to look at the TikTok issue, which on its face has a lot of the same issues with data privacy, the ability to look across your device at other things and garner information that way, which our American companies are doing too. But the difference here with TikTok is that it's a adversarial foreign government that is able to get this. And you think of the national security implications across the board. If our soldiers have this on their phone, if people within the administration or within the bureaucracies have this on their phone, and the ability to easily lose track of things to a foreign adversary is really what the impetus for this was. But we still have a lot of other issues with the privacy issues, as conservatives especially, that are going rampant with other apps in this country.
Well, when I was in high school, I remember thinking, I'm never going to be that old stuffy person that says, get off my lawn or turn down that music. I always thought of myself as hip and cool and, pop culture driven. And I now have to admit to you that I don't allow TikTok into my home. After being the DNI and seeing how the Chinese operate, I'm not very popular with my friends' kids or my nephews and nieces because I don't want that product in my home. And so I ask people who come in, I'm that stick in the mud. When you come into my home, I ask you if you've got TikTok on your phone to leave the phone outside.
Well, that should say it all, Rick. That is a pretty... And look, you've told us that, and that's one of the reasons that we do not have it here on our servers locally, here in the offices. We don't tell our employees what to download or not download, but we make sure that we don't have it at least connected to our servers.